Hello and welcome back to IntoWork, presented by the team over at IntoWork. A national leader in specialist recruitment, employment and training services, IntoWork Australia promises to be the one-stop shop for employment. And remembering that all of the views and opinions in the following segment are of course our own, I'm glad to be joined in the studio by Poul, the Group CEO of IntoWork Australia. Welcome back, how are you?
Really good, Mike. Yourself?
Doing well, doing well. I'm really excited by the topic we're going to get into today. I think it's a really good one, discussing the future after education.
Well, it's a challenging time, isn't it? We were just discussing a bit before about what does it actually mean when you first finish school. It can be a bit of a scary time. You might think you know what you're doing and then suddenly things seem to be a bit different, and so it can be a hard time. Sometimes they're very clear for people, but sometimes, gee, it can be really hard.
Well, there's one for you. So what do you want to be when you grow up? It's a question we get from time to time, and we can talk. I suppose some lucky people have it mapped out from the early age, but many others don't, which is totally fine. And given that there are now careers that didn't even exist a few years ago, which is a very big decision for school leavers and those transitioning between careers, of course, as well. So, Paul, it's one of the biggest decisions people make in their life. How do they get it right? And is there any such thing as getting it right?
Yeah, and it's an ongoing process too, isn't it?
Correct.
If we think about it over our working life, to say we have 12 different jobs over our working life, it could be 5 different careers, and it could be even more because the number just keeps growing all the time. So how do you actually get it right initially, but then how do you get it right on an ongoing basis as you keep having to wrestle with this challenge? It is difficult, and as we were discussing before, it can be challenging when you're first 18. You have a lot of discussions, even in the lead up to it. Schools do a great job with just helping that starting point about, well, what are you going to be doing next, and helping to try to guide.
Yeah, my next question is, when is the right time? I suppose I mentioned 18 because that's sort of when it was thrown in my face about what are you going to do? VCE's ending, off you go. When's the right time, do you reckon?
Well, I think it's probably those couple of years beforehand, really. So being able to wrestle through the couple of years before about, well, what types of things could be right for me? What are my interests? What are the things I'm passionate about? And it might not necessarily be the same things as your parents are passionate about, or your caregivers, or those that you really respect or admire. So we tend to get influenced a lot, rightly, by our parents, by our caregivers, by those that we've developed good relationships with, and by our friends and others. But we've also got to be able to stop and just have a bit of a stock take about the sorts of things that actually interest us as people. And then obviously, as you're saying, doing it earlier as we wrestle with preferably year 10, year 11, even earlier than that, year 9. So when we get up to about year 12, we've worked out largely at least the sort of direction we'd like to go in. So we do a lot of career advice with the career advisors in schools. Right. The challenge for career advisors in schools, if I can say, and this isn't about knocking them, it's just there are so many different careers out there. So how does a career advisor sit down and go, bang, these are the concrete options that you can have?
And then dole them out to
exactly.
Yeah.
It's absolutely a massive one. And then bearing in mind that people don't want to get locked in the same way. So younger people nowadays want the opportunity to be able to move and flex into different opportunities. So I think it's about seeing whether you're getting into the vocational education training system through apprenticeship or traineeship, whether you're going to university, etc. It's about working out a pathway that gives you some flexibility going forward as well. So if you're interested in the construction trades, well then get yourself into a construction trade, and you can shift and change around that going forward. But if it's in legal work, etc., well then have a look at that from a university pathway perspective. So there's a range of different tools, of course, that can help with that. But it is a challenging time initially, but then as people go through life circumstances change, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
Then suddenly you get to a point, well, okay, I need to have another stock take, another look now, and then see maybe in my 30s or 40s or 50s, I need to have another shot at a different sort of career pathway. So again, it helps to have an external person sit down and try to map that out a bit more as to what sort of interests I have and why I might be interested in going down a different pathway.
So with all of that in mind, where do we go, I suppose, when it comes to formal career planning at the early stages, or if you are hitting that that moment where you go, I'm going to reassess where I'm at, I suppose the word there is formal, rather than just
rather than the informal part. Yes, absolutely. And that's where we move away from people, because unfortunately the advice or support that we might have from our loved ones can be quite limited as well, because they're only aware of the things that they have around them. So at IntoWork, we've got a team of people that actually focus just around career advice. And we have online support for that as well. We have phone support for that as well. And we actually go out into schools and we run career advice sessions. We actually work with the career advisors as well. Why do we do that? Because career advisors have got great skills and insights, but they're missing some knowledge as well, because the system keeps changing out there. And we focus not just around trade trade or apprenticeship or traineeship pathways, but we do that as well. We also inform people about other things. So to give you, I guess, make it more concrete, what we do tend to do is we'll sit down, whether it's online, face-to-face or on the phone support, we'll actually help people to work out their work readiness. What types of things might be stopping a person from moving down a particular pathway? And they might think, well, I am ready for work, but maybe you are, maybe you're not. What sort of things can we help you to do to get more ready for work? And then what sort of training or what sort of support might you need to be able to get into your chosen career pathway? We actually do we use some tools to be able to help assess people into the types of careers that they might get into, and then from there fine tune into the type of training or type of support needed from there. So it's actually quite a sophisticated system that helps in the background, but from a high level, it's really about listening to a person to hear what really matters for them. What do you want to do with your life? What sort of things really are you passionate or interested in? Why? Because at the end of the day, we're all going to spend, whether it's 20, 30, 40, 50 hours a week, and if you're doing something every week that you're bored about, you don't really want to do, but you have to do because you're earning money, it's not a great way to spend life.
All right, it's my pleasure to welcome Steve Roberts, who is a career development team leader at the MAS Experience, which is part of IntoWork Australia. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
No worries. Now, I suppose to start, let's talk a little bit about how it works with the MAS Experience.
Excellent. So from our team, we are qualified career counsellors who are mobile. So we operate right across South Australia, Victoria, Tasmania, and also Queensland. And we're contacted by people who are looking for career advice. So it doesn't matter what part of your life you're at. So whether you're still at school and thinking about what you'd like to do with your future, maybe you're a bit of a career change, sort of halfway through and you're thinking, I'm not sure what to do next. And we can have a chat with you as well. And even towards the end of your career, if you're thinking, well, still got a few good years left, I'm not retired yet, I'd like to do something I'm really passionate about.
It's funny, I considered when we were discussing before, I was like, it's got to be, coming out of high school. But of course, there's a lot of people out there who flip the switch and they want to change and do something else. Do you get a lot of those kind of people?
We do, especially during the last couple of years with COVID. People have kind of been forced to make a decision about what's next for them because the industries have been poorly affected by everything that's happened.
Decimated is the word that I think has been used in a few industries, but no, it's very interesting. And you go around to schools, you said, you're not replacing careers counsellors, is that fair to say?
Not at all, not at all. We work together with careers counsellors. So we provide, I guess you can say, an additional layer of support to help people. So our careers counsellors in our schools are very, very busy with a large cohort of students that they have. So we just come in and offer another layer of support to them.
And how does that sort of work, that support? What does that look like?
A couple of different ways. So we will go and do group presentations and talk to the students about different aspects of their life and their careers or potential careers. A big focus on apprenticeships and traineeships. We get into schools and talk to a lot of the young people about those as well. And then once we've actually had those conversations and those group presentations, we sit down with each student one-on-one and provide them with free career advice.
Wow, that's very cool. I was just saying to Paul off air that my experience was a little bit stilted and I would have appreciated sort of some of the stuff that you guys are discussing. But do they still do that test where you click through all the multi-choice questions? They still have those?
They do. We actually have a couple that we use ourselves. We have one assessment which will give us an idea of different jobs or career pathways that might suit the person. We also have one that is based on language literacy and numeracy, which works really well for our migrant and refugee communities who obviously English is their second language. It helps us to identify any gaps there and then we can refer them on to additional support. And also a commitment assessment, which gives us an idea of the likelihood of them completing an apprenticeship or a traineeship and quickly helps us to identify what support they need there and then and what support they might actually need as they go through.
In order to get them to the end of their training and everything. That's fantastic. Tell us a little bit more about the multicultural support that you guys offer, if that's all right.
It's just another example of different communities that we work with. So we do a similar thing. We will do group presentations, but the big thing for us is that one-on-one career consultation where we can sit down and personalise that service for every single client that we meet with.
That's awesome. No, it's fantastic. So it's obviously really rewarding to help people find a clear path. Is that something that you take home with you every day after work?
The team are extremely proud. We are very proud of what we do. And we do realise that even if we have a quick conversation with someone, we can actually change someone's life. And it's pretty special.
It's huge. It's huge. So for the school leavers out there, or maybe the parents or the people who are transitioning to a new career, how do they tap into these kind of services and maybe get a little bit of assistance from you guys? And again, it sounds like anyone can sort of get involved if they need a bit of help.
Definitely. you can speak to your school counsellors,
Mm-hmm.
sorry, your careers counsellors at school. They've got all our contact details. We also have a portal on our website where people can register for assistance, and even calling our 1300 number as well.
We've got that 13 number on the screen there somewhere. Perfect. Now, is there anything else you'd like to tell the good people out there just before we wrap the program?
It doesn't matter what stage you're at
Yeah.
in your life. Everybody needs career support. Sometime in their life, whether as I talked about, whether you're still at school and you're not you're not sure what you want to do, then we can certainly help there. Those career changes again, and we've seen a lot of those come through in the last 2 years, especially. And for some people, I had a lady I was working with, and her whole career being put on hold. She was originally in business administration, but she became a carer for her mother, and she had to leave her job in order to care for her mother. Now, unfortunately, when her mother passed away, she actually learned some really, really good skills, and she thought, well, how can I actually put that into practice as a career pathway? So I organised an appointment with her, and she met me at one of the local community centres, and we sat down and had a really good chat. And from that, she decided, I want to do a Certificate 3 in aged care. She went off, started the certificate, and also managed to find employment as well. So she's now doing a Cert 3 in aged care as a trainee.
Incredible, incredible.
One of the great things I think about it all is that our focus isn't about trying to get people into a particular career pathway that we're interested in. So we're not even trying to get them into the vocational education and training system, not even necessarily into an apprenticeship or traineeship. It's just into the pathway that's going to be right for them. And then even guiding them towards a different pathway altogether if that's the right one. So that's really what Steve and the team do, is working with people to be able to identify, help them to work out, as you're saying, as you put together so well there, about the right pathway for them, but then guide them into whatever that next step then is from that point of time onwards, which is really freeing for people. Because you're not turning up somewhere to a sales pitch for a particular direction. It's just to help you to work out what's right for you. And the federal government has invested in it. Why? Because one of the things that strengthens the whole apprenticeship system is that the right people get into apprenticeships and traineeships, rather than it just being anybody getting in there without having actually understood the apprenticeship system well enough. So it's about and without it necessarily being the right pathway for them. So this really helps to guide people and say, no, maybe an apprenticeship's not right for you. Or maybe instead of plumbing, you know, it actually seems from all your interest about hairdressing, maybe hairdressing is a more suitable fit for you.
Guys, another wonderful episode of IntoWork there, and please reach out if you are anyone we've discussed on the program today looking to make a change. I'm Mike Loader, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Be well.